Welcome back, trainers. So we have the next cup announced for the month of April for the Silph Arana, and that is going to be the Kindom Cup. The types featured this time are going to be Fire, Ice, Dragon, and Steel. This is looking pretty nice with that dragon in there. So we have the Fire type, which is not going to be very effective to itself, super effective to the Ice, not very effective to Dragon, and super effective to the Steel. And then we have Ice type, which is not going to be very effective to Fire, not very effective to itself, super effective to Dragon, and not very effective to the Steel. And then the Dragon type, which is going to be neutral to Fire, neutral to Ice, super effective to itself, and not very effective to the Steel. And then finally we have the Steel type, which is going to be neutral to Fire, super effective to Ice, neutral to Dragon, and not very effective to itself. So this cup is shaping up to look fantastic in my opinion. The types that I think are going to excel, it really is going to depend. I have my opinion and I'll tell you here in just a second, but you have to remember there's so many dual typings that can shift everything that you see here to make it not very effective to this, not very effective to that, when it was in fact super effective before, but now it's just neutral. So we're going to go over some of the Pokemon that I have and my thoughts on which ones are going to be pretty good. Although this is fresh out of the oven here, so don't expect the top tiers. Just going to go over my types and then kind of point out which ones I think are going to be worthwhile. Now, as far as looking at these types right here and just picking these select ones and telling you my thoughts on which ones are going to be best, Steel is going to stand out for sure, as well as the Ice. And I'm picking Ice because of this reason. A lot of the Ice types are going to be dual typing with Water. Therefore, you're going to be possibly having Water Gun, super effective to that Fire, and also super effective to the Dragon. And if you're going with Steel type, a lot of times you're going to have it mixed with Rock or Ground, therefore you're going to be weak to Water. So I think Ice is going to be one of your best options, as well as the Steel type. You do have to look out for that Fire, but you know, some of these Pokemon are going to be mixed with Rock, like I said, and there you have coverage to go up against the Fire type. So with that said, let's go over them and see what we have. Alrighty, trainers, so I do have all of the types that are going to be eligible for this cup pulled up here, and these are going to be within the Great League range, so you can just have an idea as to what I currently have. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more options outside of what I'm going to show you here, but we're just going to get a rough idea. So right off the bat, you can see we have Altaria sitting up here, and anytime it can be used in a cup, believe me, it will be. Even though you have the Steel that will be resisting it, the Dragon type as well as the Flying type, and the Ice type, which will be extremely super effective to it, being a Dragon and Flying type, you still are going to see it enter because Dragon Breath is just that good. So Dragon Breath, Dragon Pulse, and Sky Attack is what you're going to be running on your Altaria. Not going to go super in depth, like I said, we're just going to kind of take a look at what I have going on here. Then we have the Mawile. I suppose that could find some sort of usability, although not really. Not for this cup, but it is there. And then obviously you have your Dragonite. Now if you're lucky enough to have Dragon Breath and Dragon Claw, you're probably going to use that to enter this cup for sure. Okay, so if you have one of those, congratulations, you have something pretty magnificent. Although you have to look out for those Steel types because you're not going to be doing that much damage, as well as the Ice types that are going to absolutely rip through your Pokemon if you're a Dragon and Flying type. Skarmory making a return, folks. You can't stop this thing. Anytime it can be used, just like Altaria, it more than likely will. And for the Tempest Cup, at first people are like, oh, you know, I don't know if Skarmory's going to be so good for this cup because you have electric types out there. Yeah, that's true, but that's definitely not stopping people from using it, and it actually will shine and perform quite nicely for sure. So yeah, this thing is pretty good. You do have to look out for the Fire types this time around, and also possibly getting walled by other Steel types like Steelix and a few others that we're going to be going over, as well as powering up one. I'm pretty excited to finish this one off. Actually, no, I think I already maxed it out, so we'll take a look at that. So yes, this one does definitely have usability come the Kindom Cup. Okay, so Skarmory is always going to be a beast. As you can see, I do have Infernape. Let's just go ahead and take a look at its moves here. So we have Fire Spin, Close Combat, and Flamethrower. So it will be doing quite a bit of damage going up against the Steel types, right? As well as Ice. You do have Close Combat, but that's not going to be ideal. There's going to be a much better Fighting type Pokemon, which we're going to be going over in just a moment, which I'm pretty excited about because I do have one, as a matter of fact. Then you have Scizor. Yeah, that's pretty interesting here. Fury Cutter, X-Scissor, and Night Slash is what I currently have on this one. If you were to be running Iron Head, you will be super effective against those Ice-type Pokemon. And, you know, other than that, it's not looking too hot because if you were to run into a Fire type, it will absolutely destroy you. Now, we did just go over Infernape, but if you were to so happen to have a Blaziken with that Stone Edge, that that can find usability as well to surprise your opponents going up against those dragon types as well as the ice. So fire as well. So keep that in mind. Blaziken with Stone Edge is going to be something you may want to consider to try and practice with your friends. Now for Melmetal making a return into the cups, this is going to be a beast with Thundershock, Thunderbolt, as well as Rock Slide. So I'm very tempted to just purchase the secondary move right now and get it over with, because it is going to be my Great League and I should have 2 moves on this thing. Rock Slide is what you're going to want to go with. You're not necessarily going to want to go with Flash Cannon, because that's going to be a single charge. It takes forever to finally get off. And if you have Rock Slide, you'll be able to do super effective to the fire types as well as the ice types. And the dragons, because they're going to be part flying, if they are part flying. So Melmetal is looking quite nice, and you will be able to do super effective to, say, dual typing of water with the electric move as well. So if you want to run one of these, if you're lucky enough to have one in the Great League, Melmetal is looking fantastic. You know, it has to look out for the fire types, and if you were to go up against, say, another steel type that didn't have ground moves, you'd be looking quite nice. And also, ice is not going to be very effective to this, nor is dragon. So Melmetal looking quite fantastic. And secondary move, what should I do? Should I purchase one? If this video gets like 500 likes, I'll buy it and I'll make a video and use it in PvP with the double move. All right, so let's move on here. Pillow is here. I mean, that's going to be great to go up against the dragons, I suppose. And that's pretty much it. So Pillowswine's not looking too hot for this cup. Although Steelix is coming in pretty nice for sure. Alright, you do have Earthquake, which you will be super effective to those fire types. And then you do have Dragon Tail, which will be super effective to the dragons. And other than that, I mean, going up against another Steelix, it can be kind of tricky depending on who's going to have the Earthquake or get that off first or run out of shields or whatever. Crunch is going to be nice neutral damage to quite a few different types in this cup, so that is something to look forward to. And if you already have one of these, you should be happy. Give it a shot. Steelix is always going to be fantastic, so just can't wait to see how that works out later on. Celio coming back. Okay, so you do have Powder Snow, Body Slam, Aurora Beam. That's what you're going to possibly want to run on this. And as far as I'm concerned, is it going to be good in this cup? Yeah, it can. Yeah, sure. I mean, it can find the usability. But, I mean, there's going to be so many different types. You have the Metagross, which can come in and just absolutely destroy the Celio, because Body Slam's not going to be very effective towards the steel types and as well as the ice. So, not looking too great like it did in the last cup. Well, current cup, I should say. Now, moving along, this is the fighting type I wanted to show you here. Lucario, which I have in the Great League, looks fantastic with Counter, Power Up Punch, and Shadow Ball. All right, if you want to run, say, Bullet Punch, so you can, I don't know why you would really want to run that. You get a little bit more energy, I think, but Counter is just going to be the better option. It's doing so much damage, and if you can get Power Up Punch going a couple of times, you're going to be looking fantastic. And say you ran into a Dragon type part flying and you're not doing that much damage with your Counter and your Power Up Punch, you'll be able to hit it for quite a bit with your Shadow Ball. Say you got off a couple of Power Up Punches and they have no more shields and they just bring in a Dragon type and you just got off your Shadow Ball, that's going to rip right through their Dragon, no problem. Pretty much anything, okay? So Lucario is looking pretty nice for this cup, so just keep that in mind. And then you have Flygon, of course, which is going to be a Ground and Dragon type. Extremely weak to ice, so you need to look out for that. Mudshot and Dragon Claw, Stone Edge or Earthquake is what you could run. And yeah, it's looking pretty good to go up against steel types for sure, and also possibly the fire types. All right, it's up to you. Flygon is actually pretty good for the Great League because it has that very low energy cost move as well as a high energy quick move. And then we already went over Charizard. We have the Dugong here. Did we go over Charizard? I don't think so. Charizard's going to be fantastic. Yet again, coming in with Blast Burn, Community Day move. If you don't have that running on it, you don't want to use it whatsoever. I have Fire Spin, Blast Burn, Dragon Claw will be super effective against the steel types and the ice as well as the dragons with that Dragon Claw. So I do need to look out for the dual typings of ice and water. If they get off a, say, charge water move or water gun, Charizard's going to be going down fairly quick because it is very fragile. But other than that, its attack is fairly high. Blast Burn hits super hard, especially onto those steel types, and you will be able to have coverage going up against the other dragons with that Dragon Claw there. You have Alola Ninetales, as well as my Legacy Dugong. Now let's talk about that dual typing here like I was going over before. So this is one right off the bat here, which can show great potential. Ice Shards, Ice Wind, as well as Water Pulse. Ice Shards energy gain for the charge moves is fairly quick, so that Water Pulse won't take too long to finally get off. But when you do, it's going to do massive damage to those specific types, say they fire or part steel and ground types like Steelix. It's going to be doing great. Bastiodon, that's going to be a rock and steel type, which we're going to be going over in just a minute, and that is going to be magnificent to go up against it for sure. All right, so if you're wondering, whoa, why did you pass Metagross? Let's talk about that one. Okay, let's talk about them. So let's say if you were to go up against another steel type. Steel against steel is not very effective, so you'd be looking pretty good because you do have coverage. Earthquake doing super effective damage to any of those steel and ground type Pokemon, or steel and rock type, which we're going to be going over in just a minute, as well as super effective to the ice, and you will not be taking super effective back. Water is not super effective to steel, so you will be looking okay, although it's going to be neutral damage. Going up against a dragon, yet again, not very effective to steel types, while your steel moves are going to be neutral towards it. Unless you're going up against, say, Flygon, you should be looking okay. Going up against any dragon type with a Metagross. Now, going up against fire types, that's where your problem lies. You do have Earthquake for coverage, but let's think about this. Are you going to have Earthquake ready by the time you are almost fainted out from those, say, fire quick moves, or possibly a fire charge move? Any fire charge move that he takes is almost going to take you out in one hit, basically, depending on what it is. And you also have Steelix that you need to look out for, because it will have Crunch, will be super effective towards Metagross, being a part Psychic type. And there's quite a bit of things actually that it needs to look out for as far as dual typings are concerned. You also have Houndoom, which will be doing super effective damage with Snarl as well as its fire moves. So Metagross can find potential, but it does have hazards too. Can't wait to see what people do once they start battling and find out how well it does perform up against many different types. Now, taking a look at Lapras here, obviously we know that this is going to perform quite well, being so tanky and having such an amazing moveset. Now, personally on mine, I have a Legacy Dragon Pulse, which will be looking fantastic to go up against those dragon types, right? And then we have Water Gun, which is going to be great to go up against possibly those steel and ground type mixes, as well as the steel and rock types, and obviously the fire. Now, if I was to be matched up against another, say, ice and water type, or just plain ice type, I'm not going to be looking too hot, but same with them as well. I do have Dragon Pulse to do neutral damage towards them, but it does take quite a bit of energy to finally get that off, and if they do have shields, they might just end up blocking it. But who knows, because they might think an ice or water type move is coming from it. So Lapras will find great usability, and we'll be going over this in more in depth later on. Moving on, we do have Abomasnow, okay? And let's think about the types. We have Fire, Steel, Ice, and Dragon. So Abomasnow is almost going to have to sit this one out. You have Powder Snow, which can find some usability, as well as Outrage. It's going to be a Dragon Slayer for sure, but outside of that, it's not looking great. But for the Tempest Cup, yes, it is looking good. All right, moving on, we have Moltres here. Now, wow, if you were able to get one of these through your breakthrough box or trade somebody or however you were to get it, do you want to use it? Not necessarily. You can't get a Sky Attack one, so there's no real reason why you'd want this, because you would just simply pick Charizard, and that's that for Moltres. Now, I've been waiting for this the whole time, folks. Finally, my Kingdra is going to be able to shine. Let's go. You know what this thing's going to be weak against? Fairy and Dragon, and that is it. Okay? It's not going to be weak to Ice because it is going to be part Water. So, Kingdra is, I'm going to call it now, going to be one of the top Pokemon you're going to be wanting to use for this cup for sure, okay? Pretty much anything with Dragon Breath. And Kingdra having the resistance to Ice as well as a double resistance to Fire. Are you serious? And a resistance to Steel. Okay, let's go, Kingdra. Let's go. Time to shine. Good old buddy, old pal, old friend. We have Dragon Breath, Hydro Pump, and Outrage over here. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, I have a Water Gun one. How is that going to fit in the meta? You should be looking pretty good. Water Gun is a good move, but let's think about it. Dragon Breath is so just OP. You're going to want to run that all the time. Now, before you go and TM it, do not do that. What you're going to want to do is just try to get another Kingdra. If you have a Water Gun one, keep it. That's a legacy, and it's amazing. Okay, just for this cup in specific, though, it's probably not going to do the best, seeing that you have Ice and Dragon types roaming around. Yes, if you were to go up against a Fire type, you will be doing pretty good. but on the other hand, Dragon Breath is just doing just as good anyways. So Kingdra is looking fantastic. If you don't have one, I highly urge you to go out there, make sure you get it into the Great League and see what you can do with it. Also make sure you have Dragon Breath and Outrage on it. So that's the moveset that I have for it. It's looking fantastic. All right, moving on here, we have Entei. And I mean, Fire Fang, Flamethrower, okay. Probably a little bit more tankier than Charizard. But do you really want to run something like this? You will be super effective against those ice, if they're pure ice types, as well as the steel types. But is it going to be worth it? Not quite. I still say go for Charizard, and as simple as that. All right, Magneton. Okay, let's take a look here. If you were to have Discharge and Magnet Bomb Legacy, how well is this going to fit in the meta? Well, you will be super effective to those water and ice dual typings, as well as possibly, you know, dual typing of fire and flying like Charizard. Or if you to go up against a dragon, it's not going to be super effective because the dragon is going to nullify the electric moves and make it neutral. But Magnet Bomb is going to hit pretty hard. You do have to look out for other steel types. If you were to run into a, say, Melmetal, your electric moves are going to be neutral, so you'll be looking okay. But yeah, it's very fragile, so it's up to you. Give it a test, see how it works. And then we go down the list here, and things are just going to teeter down. Here we go with my Bastiodon. Now, I didn't max it out completely. Okay, we're going to go ahead and power this up until we have no more candies. So this is something I'm absolutely going to urge you to try to start walking and look for. Possibly trade with your friends to get a lucky, because this thing is amazing. I have made several videos going over it, PvP battles as well as the breakdown. It is a magnificent Pokemon all around. It is going to be a rock and steel type Pokemon, and the moveset that I currently have is Smackdown and Stone Edge. So that secondary move is going to cost 75,000 Stardust and 75 candies. I'm going to be purchasing that here in just a moment, so let's just power this up, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be bringing you a better breakdown of these new Pokemon, because this cup is looking fantastic. All right, I'm pretty excited for this. The whole announcement of Sword and Shield, and then you have this one. It's all revolving around kind of like medieval times. That's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dump some rare candies into this thing. Let's see how many we're going to go for. Let's just go past. Let's do 96. And just go ahead and purchase that secondary move right now. Yeah, we just did that, folks. All right, so we are going to have Flash Cannon. All right, I'm going to hold on to that for just a moment and finish off powering this up. I think I'm going to have to put a few more candies into it so we can completely max it out. I think it has one more power up here, or no, it has several more. Oof, so I'm going to have to dump a good amount. Let's go. I'm not worried about it. I have been looking forward to maxing this out for some time now, and it's finally come down to it. So let's go ahead and finish this off here. Had a good amount of Stardust saved up, so we're not looking too bad. And I'll be bringing you some more PvP battles. It's going to be maxing out at 1401. Oh no, it's got another power up. Oh my gosh. All right, let's just spend the money. Let's go. Spend that Stardust, spend those rare candies. So we have 411. All right, sounds good. So there you have it. So this thing is looking fantastic for sure, okay? Really happy with it. It's a tank. It can take hits for days for sure. It does have quite a few weaknesses. If you were to go up against a Lucario, you are rock and steel, so you're going to be taking massive damage, okay? All right, so if you're wondering why am I so focused on this and why did I just spend so many rare candies powering it up as well as Stardust? Because I was going to power it up. I had my sights set on it already. The time has come to do some test battles, so we're just going to go ahead and go all out. And now we're going to use our TM and get rid of that Flash Cannon, because we definitely want Stone Edge and as well as Flamethrower. Now we're looking even better. So let's go ahead and back out and see where it's going to land up here. And if you're wondering also about Registeel, hey, what about Registeel? Show the Reggie some love. I mean, I don't think so. It's got a bunch of tankiness to it. Sure, if it went up against a ice type or dragon type, it could show some usability if you had, say, Metal Claw and Flash Cannon, I suppose. But other than that, it's not looking so hot, guys. You can go ahead and test it out yourself if you don't believe me. All right, so the Bastiodon sitting with Smackdown, Snow Edge, and Flamethrower looking fantastic at 1411. All right, so there are going to be other steel types and rock types, mixed dual typings there. Say Aggron, for instance, is going to be pretty good, I suppose, but then you still have to look out for that extra weakness to fighting, so there is that option. And also, Aggron doesn't have Smackdown. That's what is making this so nice. It also has Flamethrower, so you'll be able to take out those steel types as well as the ice. So Bastiodon's looking just amazing. If you were to go up against the fire, you have Smackdown and Stone Edge, super effective. Any sort of dragon that's mixed with flying type, you have Smackdown and Stone Edge. So Bastiodon is going to be prime. Now do you see why I recommended you start walking in, powering it up? Because this thing is going to be an absolute beast. It may not look the prettiest, but the thing sure will find some usability in this cup. Right, and since we're doing the whole power up of the Bastiodon here, let's just go ahead and go over its stats so you completely understand what is going on with it. It's going to be a rock and steel type, maxing out at 1539 at 100% IV, attack at the lower end with 94, defense at a whopping 286. Or let that sink in for a minute, my gosh. And then you have stamina at 155. So if you were to go up against, say, a dragon with Dragon Breath, you're going to be very, very comfortable, and they're going to be doing hardly any damage. PvP battles coming soon. All right, and so let's go ahead and look at the weaknesses and resistances. Extra weak to fighting and ground types, so take note of that. And you're also going to be weak to water. Otherwise, he's going to be resisting poison, flying, normal, bug, dragon, fairy, ice, psychic, and rock. Bam, let's go. So yeah, those Lucarios and those ground types, possibly the Flygons and several other types that are going to be a part of this whole cup, like Steelix, you have to look out for, but otherwise you're looking great. But on the flip side, going up against Steelix, Flamethrower, bingo, bingo. All right, let's go. This thing has coverage for everything that's going to be entering in the tournament, literally, guys. So there you go. Smackdown and Iron Tail for the quick moves. For the charge moves, we have Stone Edge, Flash Cannon, and Flamethrower. Let's go. So looking pretty nice and happy and very confident about this Pokemon, and I feel like you will too. Alrighty, trainers, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. That was just a quick breakdown of some of the Pokemon that I currently have and just talking about them and my thoughts. So Kingdra, Bastiodon, Melmetal, Lapras, Altaria, Charizard, and several others are going to be something you may want to consider and start practicing with other people. I know we're still in the middle of our current cup that we're going into, but it's never too late to start practicing and getting ready and seeing how well they perform in the actual field, other than doing simulators, although there's nothing wrong with that. It's just personal experience, and actually visually seeing it for yourself and using it in practice is going to be a whole lot better for experience when you go down into the battles. Anyways, thank you for watching, trainers. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Like I said, if I can get this to 500, I'll be powering up that other Pokemon and seeing what we can do. That Melmetal is actually already powered up. I'll be purchasing a secondary move and taking it to the field. Catch you all next time. Take care.